Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to a little bit of fun that we're going to have this afternoon, I hope, this morning or whenever you are doing this time together. We're going to be walking through these notes together on some of the religions that we're going to be studying right now. On your screen, you can see what you should be doing as you're dragging by. There's actually four articles now. Only two of them have something that you need to answer, but go ahead and do that, and you're more than ready to take care of some of those things. I'm going to be giving you an outline and an overview, basically, of some of the religious practices that we have in our studies in Southeast Asia. So take just a few moments and you can see them in front of you there on the screen. Buddhism, Hinduism, Islam, Shintoism, and the philosophy of Confucianism. Today, probably only going to get through Buddhism and Hinduism and be able to share that with you, and then I'll be back with you the next day. Give you a little background on Hinduism. We understand it is the oldest of the religions that we face, that we come into, we come in contact with. And in fact, it's much older than Judaism, which was the oldest of the three monotheistic faiths. So we believe it was probably around when Abraham was already in practice. And we're going to find out that Hinduism is actually more of a society or a makeup, a philosophy of living, a way to structure society as well as a religion. So it goes together. There's different types or forms of Hinduism. And we're only going to do an overview, so we're not going to dig into some of those realities. So you understand that there's different kinds of other religions as well. As we go together, we do notice, again, as you're taking notes, that Hinduism is one of the oldest religions in the world. It was developed in India around 1500 BCE. It was practiced originally by the Aryans that invaded that part of the world. They came down over the Khyber Pass and took over that region as a warrior class. And in order to structure society and in order to govern, if you will, that part of the world, they set up some structures, and you get to see those structures as we begin to play those out. And this isn't the first time in history that we hear the word Aryan, nor will be the last time. It was a warrior race that came, and I know some of you are probably thinking in world history back to the 30s about the second time that you hear about the Aryans. And yes, this would be the group that many in that party were trying to get back to. The worship of the Aryan priests followed a very interesting and complicated sense of rituals. Hinduism can be a localized religion in its expression, but in some senses can be very complicated. And the Aryans had a complicated system and also complicated hymns. They collected those in a book of knowledge called the Vedas. The Vedas could be, if you will, referred to as a sacred text. And so if you wanted to use that terminology as a sacred text, you could do that. You could do that as well. As far as the practice is concerned, it is the most widely practiced religion in India. Currently, it is the third largest religion in the entire world. So when you stop and you think about that, it's a relatively large religion. Hinduism has been categorized as polytheistic. Of course, we know that as worship of many gods. A few Hindus that I have spoken to don't agree with this classification, but they understand the determination of this. And so we will classify it according to what we do with the state of Georgia as Hinduism is polytheistic. Hindus believe that all of these gods are really a part of Supreme Spirit, the Brahma Spirit. And so ultimately, all of these spirits would be absorbed into one. I think that's why some Hindus would say, well, we have one God, but different manifestations of the different spirit, different avatars, so forth and so on. This image that you have before you is a very famous image, and you can see the different expressions of the different types and different kinds of supreme beings that would be worshipped, approached, also categorized in the Hindu belief. Hinduism has, if you will, a trinity, trinitary, and that would be Brahma, the creator, Vishnu, the preserver, and Shiva, the destroyer. Take some time to look that up. I think if you go back to the article that I gave you on Hindu gods, you can see a description of each of these, and you can see the descriptions of what they're to do and how they function, if you will. For instance, Brahma is the one God of whom really according to Hindus, there's no image that exists. The Brahman is the spirit, the Om, the intelligence, if you will, of the living being that is there. Then you have Vishnu. Vishnu is the preserver. He preserves all new creation. When Dharma, which I hope you're looking up your vocabulary words too, when Dharma, or the eternal order, which is the order of that religion, the law of the universe, it's threatened. That's when Vishnu travels from heaven to earth to help, and he appears in one of 10 different forms. And so some of the avatars that you can see of Vishnu coming as the preserver. Then not on this list, but you can see as well would be Krishna. We could talk about Krishna. Those are the reincarnations of Vishnu. So Krishna applies to Vishnu. And then you have Shiva, Shiva the destroyer. Now, Shiva represents the change of all things. So he destroys so that new life can be created. So it's kind of, don't look at Shiva as an evil or evil factor in destroying, but actually being the one who gives the transitions into the rhythm of life and the rhythm of existence, if you will. There's a never-ending process, as Hindus see it, between creation and destruction. Think about it: birth, life, death, and rebirth. So you've got those cycles. And all of those things would be Shiva as Shiva is moving through that process of what that God is to perform or what that God is to do. Now, Hinduism is, if you will, a map of Dharma. Again, go back to your vocab. It's a map of Dharma or of appropriate behaviors, and therefore it is a path to good rebirth and ultimately to moksha, or the opportunity to move from the reincarnation cycle and to be able to move through. Hindus believe that all living beings have souls. A lot of people accept that as well. Animals, people, all of them have souls, and these souls are also eternal. Some animals are sacred in Hinduism. For instance, cows are sacred in Hinduism, and many Hindus are vegetarian. They eat no meat. No meat would be eaten at all in the process of their religion. Some do, some don't. Hindus do believe in reincarnation. Now, again, you know this from vocabulary. You've tuned back in. The idea that the soul does not die with the body, but a person enters into a cycle of rebirth, and so therefore, when the body dies, the soul would then be reborn into another being, whether it's a person or whether it's an animal, whatever it might be. And this type of life that a person lives, whatever they lived in this life, will determine what they'll be in the next life. And so it's a system of karma. It's a system of dharma. If they fulfilled the duty, the moral duty of Hinduism, and they were the kind of person they were supposed to be, they fulfilled their status, they fulfilled their role, and they were really good at their role, then they can be determined to move to another caste system or another level, if you will, and move through that process. So if a good person, if you will, or they have done their deeds properly, then they can have a better life. If it was an evil person, or if they did not fulfill their deeds properly, then in the next life, they would probably suffer. So they come back and they suffer. And so depending on and determining on what happened in the previous life determines the good or the evil that you would experience in this life. A soul is reincarnated over and over again until the life is good enough or seen to be good enough, or moves through that process of truly and ultimately accomplishing the Dharma. And that pathway, again, think about the pathway, and then ultimately is united with the Brahman. So the belief that one's actions determines one's fate, that's karma. So what goes around comes around, if you will. That's an easier way for us to think about it. But really, it's like the way you behave, the way you performed your duty, your moral actions, and those are set. There's a set system of those things and how you are to perform those items, and it's different than other people. The way their set of dharma may be different than yours, depending on your caste or depending on the level that you are at in this life. And so that would determine those things. The Aryans, to structure society in this process and in this religion, set up a caste system. Not everybody still holds to the caste system today, but for Hinduism to work academically, the caste system is in place. And it's a belief in social classes, and it's inherited. So you cannot change your status in life, your position in life, your caste system can't change in your lifetime. Therefore, in order to move to another caste system or improve your caste system, perform your moral duty, perform those things that you're supposed to perform. And then when you're born into the next life, when you're reincarnated, you possibly could move into a higher caste system, a new set of dharma, new set of rules, a new set of things that you might accomplish. Here are the four main caste system that you can see that, and you'll notice again the Aryans had a really good system of this. Some of this legally today in the legal system in India is not necessarily followed, from what I understand. But in Hinduism, this helps us understand reincarnation. Also, the moral duty, it helps you understand your dharma. So the highest level would be the priest and the wise men. Again, as you go, you almost see this as a pyramid, if you will. So the higher you get in the level, the fewer there would be. Your warrior and ruler class would be near the top. Your third or your middle largest classes would be your merchant, your traders, your small farmers. Your peasants and field workers, this is starting to be the largest society section. The Sudras would be in place, and they would work for the merchants, work for the traders. And then your lowest, the untouchables, they were called Dalits at one time. There's, now some things have changed about Indian society, which is very good, and the Dalit class has been able to move into more educated class in some senses of the word. How this fully functions in their society is very interesting, and it is very different in each community where they might be. And so this just gives you a basis. Within each caste system, there is a level of caste. So when you start thinking about this, within each level, there are other levels. So there's a multiple level system that is here. I told you it's a very complicated system that is here. So as we approach this, just helping us understand, it helps me understand this might be the title of this caste, but there are other subcastes that are under it as well. Again, the divisions within each of the caste are a way that makes Indian social structure very complicated. So in some areas of India, I'm told that some in the caste systems, they don't associate with others in caste systems. I do know this, that if you're truly in this system, and you're traditional, you don't marry outside of your caste system. In fact, if you're a Hindu, a strict Hindu, and it's traditional interpretation of it, you wouldn't let your children marry outside of the caste system. And in fact, that may be one of the structures, one of the reasons why there are arranged marriages in some traditional families. Again, I'm couching that in terms of some. So you just need to be aware of that as well. Now, some jobs in India are still based on caste connections. Not all. Some of that is going away as society is moving through. Some things that we're going to see when we go back and we watch the life of Gandhi, we talk about that. It helps us to understand some of that when we see some of the jobs that he will even talk about. And so we'll look at some of that processes. He wanted to see a change, by the way, to the caste system, and I think he helped institute some of those items as well. Well, that's Hinduism. So there's gives you kind of a breakdown, kind of a background. If you get to this, the next thing we're going to talk about is Buddhism. So if you get there, congratulations, kudos. And maybe you didn't get there, I don't know. But the next video is going to be on Buddhism.